It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams. Ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Remember, it's been ugly six times in the last 40 years. I mean, big bear markets. And every time you had to either buy pretty much very quickly if you wanted to get a good price, except for in 2007, 2009, where it took 6 years to get back. So we're just trying to figure out exactly which of those two baskets we have. And I'd say it's more the former. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to say, get out now. I think that you got to stay the course here.
Yeah, and you were writing to your Investing Club newsletters, and I'm gonna read Jim Cramer to Jim Cramer. You said you think it's reasonable we could see an 18 multiple on $220 in earnings, which takes us down to about 4,000, but there is a worst case possible scenario even on top of that. What are some of the various possible scenarios, Jim, that you see?
Sure. Well, I think the biggest problem we have is that if you wanted to try to bottom fish tomorrow, and I don't advise that, you have to worry that Europe is going to come after us. And I figure Europe comes after us between 3 and 7 days later. That would be the moment where I think if you wanted to do some buying, you wanted to be fine. Look, if you need the money in the next year, you do want to do some selling. If you're margined, geez, I mean, I don't even know if you should bother, because I'm going to send you an invitation to your funeral. But I do believe that what's going to happen is we'll settle in. Look, the president wants these tariffs. This is not a negotiation. A lot of this is by
This round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
All right, Quanell, we witnessed yesterday this massive dip in the stock market that followed the massive dip on Thursday and Friday of last week that are all associated with Donald Trump's tariffs. We were listening to Jim Cramer. I find the guy to be horribly obnoxious and an alarmist who just makes a living screaming and yelling. Reminds me of you, right? But saying fear-mongering and all this, I don't find it interesting. I don't think that this is the Great Depression that some people are trying to frame it as. He clearly wasn't. I do think Donald Trump wants these tariffs. I think Donald Trump wants these tariffs for an unknown reason. I think we're once again making the stock market very cheap for the post-monetary, the super rich who don't care, right? Stock market dips, they lose a few million, they got 100 million or 200 million, 100 billion, whatever. They don't care. Us regular working people, even people making a high income, you see a big chunk, a couple hundred grand fall off your savings, it's terrifying. For people that are living check to check and are still managing to save some money to put away for the future, it's terrifying. People that have recently retired, it's terrifying. And it's all driven by this tariff game, which I honestly, I don't understand. Right? I understand that the United States has been getting taken advantage of around the world that charges us large tariffs and we don't have reciprocal tariffs. I understand that we've been squandering trillions of dollars paying for all kind of craziness, and I'm glad that DOGE had rooted that out. But this seems to be intentionally sinking the economy in a country that largely hasn't had tariffs for a long time and instead had an income tax. And people think it's the super rich that pay income tax. They pay the smallest portion because they hide it all. They use it, they set up structures so it's capital gains. We've got a president who's now talking about getting rid of capital gains taxes, which just benefits the really rich, right? And it's going to allow the really, really rich to schedule how they receive their money that they don't need to not pay any taxes. Why aren't we talking about, if we're going to have tariffs, hey, let's get rid of the income tax? In which the income tax weighs the heaviest on the working class, the middle class, and the upper middle class. We're the ones carrying all the water for all of America, while the post-monetary super rich and those that don't work, whether they can't, or the great number that just choose not to and suck off the teat of entitlement, just get away with contributing nothing. And damn it, this is scary to me. I think it's scary to America, and Trump needs to fix it quick. Trump's your guy. Back up your guy.
Trump is not my guy.
He was your guy in November.
I have never voted for Donald Trump.
Come on.
But I will say this. Theoretically, what he's doing with the tariffs are really just and right. But the problem is so many past administrations in the White House has allowed America to get into an upside-down financial arrangement relationship with other countries that buy our goods, zero. But we buy all of theirs, and then they charge interest rates and tax rates on the American people that's not being put on other nations. So what Trump is attempting to do is balance the scale. But the problem is it's hurting the most, as you said, the working class man and woman of America who actually were the driving force to put Trump in the White House. So the very people that Trump stood on their backs and rode his way back into the White House for a second time are the very people that's being squashed and hurt the most with this tariffs. And I'm going to say this, American people, prepare for a real serious recession. It is a global effort around the world with these countries that Donald Trump is putting these tariffs on. They're collectively coming together now to find a way to break America through these tariffs. Charles, the financial collapse is coming, and Europe has not retaliated yet, but they will sometime, probably within a week or two. Charles, this is a global effort now to come after America's financial stability because Donald Trump is seeking vengeance in many ways because of an unethical, inappropriate financial arrangement that past administrations in the White House allowed to exist. But now, he's not able to fix that problem like he's going about doing it. He's using a chainsaw instead of using a scalpel, which is necessary in this sensitive situation. But I'm also concerned about this, Charles. Will this lead to a war? Because you and I both know it's money that really starts wars. Will this lead to a war? Will this lead to other nations turning a blind eye or giving a wink to China, giving a wink to Russia to start a war with America, to get us into a position to where now we're financially at war with other nations, but on a ground war also? Charles, I think something awful is coming with this because there's a global effort to hurt Donald Trump and his administration with these tariffs.
Yeah, you've confused me, right? These tariffs were Donald Trump's idea. And if it was a global conspiracy to hurt Donald Trump, it would be predicated on Donald Trump doing something himself. Had he not implemented the tariffs, we wouldn't be in this situation. Now, I do think that we have huge disparities in tariffs like Canada, the tariffs they charge on American goods, whereas we let them bring their goods into our country. Now, we eliminated most tariffs in this country when we instituted the income tax because of the impacts that it had on the economy. Now, I think you're spewing some Alex Jones nonsense when you say that this is this global conspiracy to get Trump. Trump's the one that did this. No one else did. It was Trump's design. It was Trump's decision. Now, it might lead to a couple of different outcomes. It might lead to Donald Trump bullying the world into evening and leveling the global trade marketplace to where American manufacturers get a fair deal. They're not getting a fair deal now, and that would be the best possible outcome, and then he eliminates these tariffs. Of course, the other outcome is he tanks the economy, right? And you talk about, it's not just, Americans have suffered from 4 years of horrible inflation at the hands of Joe Biden, and before him, Barack Obama, 4 years before him, just printing money at a record rate, right? Just making make-believe money up and flooding the market with money, kept interest rates down, but it also led to this crazy inflation that we've experienced in the last 4 years that has been horrifying for the American working class consumer. Tariffs will, again, cause horrible inflation, but less inflation, more just a giant rise in the cost of goods that regular working Americans have to buy.
And how long would it take us to come out of it?
So we're both getting hurt. Well, that's the big question. I think the magic wand here is going to be Trump's trade groups going out there and getting this resolved.
The ideal wish.
If it doesn't happen,
that's the
it's
ideal
a big
wish.
problem.
But what they're not saying to the American people, within 3 years, Charles, from right now, artificial intelligence will take over between 35 to 45% of the American workforce, Charles. Now, wait a minute. Now, if you do that with artificial intelligence, and the Americans are losing jobs, are not being replaced, and we're in a recession like never seen before, Charles, we're looking at a potential collapse, Charles.
What do you think the last 5 years
and these global nations? Biden didn't do a damn thing to help America.
Right.
Biden, in fact, financially destroyed America. We want to be honest with you.
Well, the market was doing well.
But Charles, let me tell you something, man. That market's a lie. That market is a lie because what you just said was the truth. We've been printing money. And we just been cranking up the printing press, Charles.
Well, hold on.
And guess what? These tariffs is going to expose that America has just been printing money, and American currency is no longer backed by gold or silver. That is nothing more than a promise. And that's why the world is going to try to financially collapse our markets.
I would argue that the promise of America is why so many people struggle to get here. There's still a great promise here. I love this country. It's the best nation in the world, despite its problems. But right now, we have this huge, huge deficit, right? We are in a tremendous amount of debt, and I applaud Trump for trying to address it by cutting all the waste and all the grift and all the people just sucking at the teat of the American taxpayer. But you talk about the working class largely is check to check. They're not investing in the market. But when the market booms, it allows those that do the money to create more jobs and create more opportunity. So under Biden, we did see a growth in opportunity, especially after the COVID years. But also, he kept spending money, growing entitlement. The question, though, is what is Trump trying to do? If Trump is doing these tariffs just to help facilitate knocking out capital gains tax, he's only playing this game for the super rich.
But he's lying, Charles.
I'm saying it's a bad thing.
But he's lying about manufacturing jobs. Okay. Manufacturing jobs will never come back to America like it once was, because artificial intelligence is going to take over that market. So he's talking about he's doing this so now they can start bringing more manufacturing jobs back to America.
Well,
when Trump knows that artificial intelligence is going to take those jobs.
I hope that we have someone that cares. I don't believe that AI is going to take those jobs.
Oh, it's coming, Charles.
And I think that America should, in fact, worry about the working class. I don't think Biden did. I don't think Obama did.
Artificial intelligence is replacing the working class like never before in world history. So the working class are not going to have more jobs produced 4, 5, 10 years from now. Those jobs will be lost. So who is Trump helping? Who is he helping?
So we should have tariffs or we shouldn't? You're confusing me.
I believe.
Are you pro-tariff or anti-tariff?
I'm pro do it a different way. Because he knows that you cannot bring manufacturing jobs back to America when artificial intelligence is exploding around the world.
So what do you
Charles,
want?
even other nations are getting rid of their workforce and going to artificial intelligence. China and India, Pakistan are moving toward nothing but artificial intelligence.
That's not true.
Charles, the American markets and American worker cannot compete with that. The jobs are not coming back.
First of all, I disagree with that statement. All those statements completely.
The jobs not coming back, Charles.
What's the solution?
We have
people starving.
Here's the real solution.
Not have people working.
We need to find a way to be honest with the American people about artificial intelligence and what the American people must do. Because if the American people think that tariffs that Trump is putting on the world is going to bring back manufacturing jobs, it is not. The automotive industry will never get those jobs back like they once were in Detroit, Michigan.
America,
that's
don't
over.
Listen to this nonsense. Learn a trade, get a craft, get out there, do work, make money, ignore all
trade that will no longer be viable when artificial intelligence is moving the way that it is.
What did I do next? There are no court documents, motions, or proceedings that have occurred, nor have I been offered or agreed to such terms. Would it actually be smart just to pay the whole 18 years, one payment of only $1.8 million? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is
I wouldn't. It's tough, Ocho. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough because it. And I'm just speculating. I don't know. I don't know Ant-Man like that. Have I met him before? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough because he young. It's reported that he didn't want the kid. Now he forced to, want to be with the kid. So I just think the thing is, I would say this: take some time, cool down.
Yes, sir.
You're upset right now because you didn't want to be with her. You were just having a good time.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes when you're late, you got to pay.
Yeah.
And that's the only advice I would give him. I say, son, that child didn't ask to come.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Well, we watch Club Shay Shay, our big brother, Uncle Shannon Sharp, talking with Ocho Cinco, speaking about the dilemma, the drama that's playing out in the public sphere, dealing with Anthony Edwards, prominent NBA ball player who is now being sought after for child support by a quote-unquote now baby mama whom he did not want to have a child with. He's publicly made that clear in some circles that this was no relationship. They were not in a real dating relationship. This was just something of a hookup. And I watched a video, Charles, of the mother of this child. She got on TikTok, Instagram, and she talked about getting pregnant from Anthony Edwards and talked about the prominent other men she's had babies for already, and spoke about women who are not smart, who are having babies from broke men. And she was literally making mockery of women who are not having babies from financially successful men. She put this out on video. Well, Shannon said he really have no real advice for Brother Anthony Edwards. I got something for you, young fella. Let me tell you what you do, young fella. You know straight up, let's just keep this raw and real. She a gold digger. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. But you have a weapon, Brother Anthony, to take the shovel out of her hand. Instead of you making a one-time child support payment, why don't you file for sole custody of the child and take her to court and fight for sole custody of the child? Anthony, pay attention. And then you can amend your petition to fight for 50-50 custody of the child. And based on what state, whether you live or where she live, based on the 50-50 custodial rules, you may wind up paying little to no child support whatsoever. But if you win the trial for sole custody, she don't get a damn thing. The gold digger now gotta pay you when she hustled you. Charles, there's even reports, and she pretty much admitted it, that he paid her $100,000 to have an abortion, and she agreed to have the abortion, took the man $100,000 and never was going to do it in the first place, didn't give his money back to him, kept it, and played the young brother. But look, man, don't run from child support. File for sole custody, and then file for 50-50 custody. Put that paper in her life the right way. You go to court and file. Don't wait on her.
Okay, so I'll try to hit all the points you hit. Initially, it would make no sense for the best interest of the child for Mr. Edwards to pay the $1.8 million all up front unless it was put in some sort of trust and the large amount was protected from being squandered by the mother, right? Because if it's squandered and those funds are no longer available to the child just a few years from now, let alone 18 years from now, it's a problem. That if you want to set aside your obligation and set it up in a way, and this is actual legal advice, in a way to do it, what you do is you go buy an annuity for $1.8 million, which will grow multiple folds of that. In fact, you could probably get away with paying less in to get a total aggregate of 1.8 over the years, and you just have it pay out monthly to the child's mother, and then pay out in the $5,000, and then you don't run the risk of the mother squandering all the money, plus you get the money, the earnings of the money, which you would get after the end of the. So there's a lot more intelligent ways to both protect the child's interests and the use of the money over the 18 years that would make more sense. So that's a bad idea. You and I
both know ain't no gold digger going to agree to those terms. Because those terms are good for the kid,
she wouldn't
not the gold digger mama.
Hold on, it wouldn't be up to her. If his obligation is to pay $5,000 a month, he could just set up the annuity and have her as the beneficiary pay it directly to her. He would be meeting the obligation of child support. She would have no control or consequence, right? That would make sense, right? But more importantly, this child, Aubrey Summer Edwards is her name, is a daughter. It's a young baby, right? Anthony decided to lay down and have unprotected sex with this woman. She conceived. Now, yes, if she promised to have an abortion for $100,000 and she defrauded him, then she owes him that money.
Exactly.
It's a big deal. But that child he owes her being a father. And we have
sue for custody.
Hold on, let me
sue for sole custody.
But that's what apparently the rumors are, and coming out of, including I believe his camp, is that he doesn't want to have anything to do with the child, as if it's somehow the child's fault.
I don't think that's the case.
I hope it's not the case.
He don't want nothing to do with that gold digging
right.
mama.
I hope it's not the case.
It ain't the child's the gold digging mama.
We have this problem in America that is obviously far worse for whatever reason in America's black communities, where you have fathers not participating in the upbringing of their sons and daughters. And then those sons and daughters, without that influence, growing up and making horrible choices, right?
That's why I say sue her for custody,
I would applaud that. I would applaud that.
But there's something you left out.
What would I leave out?
See, your financial idea for him in child
support. It's not a financial idea.
It's a bad one in my opinion. You know why?
Why?
Because why not, if you're going to do it that way, pay it now, one lump sum up front, because this is what she's going to do.
If she spends it all,
wait a minute though. Wait a minute. This is what some corrupt, wise lawyer going to tell her. Look here, baby. You know he's going to be renegotiating his contract in a couple of years.
5,000 is the cap.
And no, wait a minute. She can always move to a different state and then say, now, based on where we living, we need a financial increase. And based on him getting a new contract that's coming, which probably going to make almost $500 million a year, every year, she can come at that man for an increase based on the expenses for the child. And if she relocate to a different state that give her more money, you just set yourself up for failure. Look here, brother, sue that woman for your $100,000 back. Take her to court for sole custody, and look at man, turn the tables on her because she hustling, and that's the way you deal with a hustler.
But
you put the paper in her life.
You could get a geographic restriction preventing her from moving to other states, but more importantly, I think we're all talking about hustling and this and that.
That may not
how
be
about the best interest of this child?
To be with the daddy.
Okay, how about instead realizing, yes, I made a baby. I don't like the mother. We've got to co-parent.
Did you hear what the other baby daddy said?
The money and
the rapper,
stop being a scumbag.
You know, the problem the rapper talked about her and his situation with the baby with her also.
Okay.
It's a nightmare.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.